I don't want to get off the beaten path, but I would like to start a small division of a tea party in my own town or school district. So I would just like to know who I could talk to at the end of the program to uh, start to organize something. And I think of everyone here, I don't know how spread out we are here, but you know, if we start taking this town by town, school district by school district, it's going to make a difference.
Just for a story from our primary, we had in our town different Tea Party folks get involved in the school board because the school board was just raising the property taxes, and anyway they got involved and they ran and they won. The Tea Party went in and took over the Penridge School District. So what I'm saying is the taxpayer, the people in the town got involved and they were going up against big money and they won. They went door knocking, they did their own flyers, and this is what they did. They won 5 seats out of 9, which means they have the majority.
Can we take us back to this, to SB1? I've had a lot of experience lobbying the education committees in Harrisburg. How are you doing with it? Phyllis Mundy is on that committee, who is one of our state representatives. And I wonder how they view SB1 or the whole voucher system. I mean, this is a baby voucher system, according to me. I'm a homeschooler, so I'm paying out of my pocket and getting nothing, okay? And I've been doing that for 20 years, okay? So, you know, you have to, and then watch the administration, because once you get the bill through, the administration will gut it for you, because the way the administrators apply it, all right? I had a software company in King of Prussia, and the state started to compete with our software. We had software for school districts. They were competing with us. And I spent $100,000 lobbying to get that changed and got nowhere. So you've got, you know, we have to have the people there. We have to do what you have to do. But I would, where do you stand with the committees right now?
The education, well, in the Senate, it went through the Education Committee, and we also one of our reps from our area is in charge of in the House, Paul Clymer, and we've talked to him, and he's supportive of a voucher and school choice. So I think one of the things that I've learned through this process is there's key people, and these committees, I'm like, oh, what is a committee? I didn't know that it really was that relevant. It really is. The people that are in charge of these committees control a lot. The people, you know, the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Senate, the Majority Whip, all these people, they really do have influence. And so hearing that we have, you know, Paul Clymer, it's a good thing for SB1.
Mention real quick, Senator Piccola chairs the Education Committee in the Senate. He is probably there's 2 big champions of SB1. He is one, and it passed out of the committee. I think 2 people voted against it. It's got bipartisan support, passed the Appropriations Committee, so it's ready for the full Senate. But I'm going to go back to the crowd for more questions or comments.
I read the bill a long time ago, so I don't remember. But does it specifically state that there is not going to be a raise of property taxes? Does it specifically state where the funding is going to come from, and what section is that? And the reason I ask is to go back to this gentleman. If we're going to do something locally to challenge the union and the school boards to get behind this, when they say, oh, you want us to raise your property taxes, we can just, no, you're not going to, because it's right here. So maybe you know which part it is, or is there a copy?
I don't remember exactly what section. Market concept of.
He's asking where the money comes from. The general revenue. The money that's from the state, that voucher may go from with the child to a different school, but the local taxes are not touched at all. That's just if you know, I don't know that it says local district money. I mean, it says local district money will stay. It doesn't say there won't be a tax. It just says it'll stay, because
The bill states where the money is going to come from, and it's not. Nowhere does it say that it's going to come from property tax money.
raising the property tax. I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember what section it is, but I'll be glad to send it to you.
Yeah, we can email these, but it's online, you can download it and reprint it. But yeah, that's, the key is that local district money stays locally, so, and you have less students, maybe you even have now less cost. So if 5 students leave, it's not going to change the local property taxes.
I want to add to that, Brendan. In this packet that we gave you out front, if you look, it says on the front, school choice talking points. In there is a summary of the bill. It's the summary that Senator Copola's office sent out everybody. And to Brendan's point, when you have students that when you have a certain level of students, say everybody's in the school and there's a lot of people in that classroom, say 5 people out of the 10 take advantage of that voucher and the money follows them, that school will have less students to educate, which means smaller class sizes, better results, better test scores, and also less money to do it with, which is fine because you have less students. The money's following the students. So for someone who's sending their kid to private school now, they're double taxed. So you pay your property taxes, then you pay a tuition into that school. So now they're getting a voucher which will allow them to go to school. So it benefits everybody across the board, and it won't raise your taxes because if it's $15,000 vouchers for 9, that's a difference of $6,000. So it's $6,000 cheaper per student. And you're next.
How do they come up with the amount of money that it's based on? In other words, you said that the failing schools, there's 144 failing schools, and 99 of them are in Philadelphia. Do they include any of the failing schools that are in local areas, like in Lackawanna County? Because I just was curious to know how you came up with that.
With the criteria of filling schools, they do have the criteria in filling schools in here. And one thing that I would say is I challenge everyone. What do you define as a failing school? I mean,
Well, that's what I want to follow up with.
Clearly, we're not doing a good job. So even the ones that are not failing, people will say, well, my school is fine. Well, is it?
No.
I mean, I went to public school in Texas, a small school. You know, I felt like I had a pretty good education, and it did well on all the test scores. But what did that really mean? When I got to the University of Texas at Austin, I'm looking at students that went to much better schools, better teachers. I was catching up the first year. So I got there. But according to the state, I mean, I did well on, test scores and things like that, and I was a pretty good student. But I would argue that I had one really good teacher who saved me, essentially, and, kept the test scores a little bit higher. So they do define failing schools, and I think it's a pretty basic test. But again, when people say my schools are fine, I challenge people to say, are they really? Could they not be better? Would competition not make them better? And is the current situation, the current test scores, the current education of our children, is it really okay in the rest of the state? Is it in the rest of the country? I don't think it is.
Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. I mean, I've read some of these history books. In our tea parties, we go to the school board meetings, and some of the things I'm reading in history and math I'm not that great at, but I mean, I could tell you some of the math that's being taught isn't the best either. Lattice math. I mean, you should see this, what they're teaching these kids. So my question, I guess, and why I'm here today is because I usually do read the bills, but I did not have an opportunity to read this SB1. And a lot of our members are very curious whether they should support it or not, and we're getting a lot of, I'm not sure if it's misinformation or correct information. That's why I came to find out. And, our schools are a mess. I mean, we had 10 to 15 people at our school board meetings for the past year. And these kids are going into colleges and they have to take the Act 101 program because they don't know how to add or multiply. And they get into college and they're on the Act 101. I was one of them, I know. I mean, and we're notorious for that. So, what Ray is trying to point out is we've faced a lot over the past 4 years, and the one thing that we realized is our schools have been failures for 30 years. This isn't something new.
And we can't continue the status quo.
Right. Well, we just are finding this out within the past 4 years. We're all just waking up to this. We're trying to educate the rest of the community that that's what the Tea Party is all about, is education.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I want to answer your first question, which was how do they determine the 144 failing schools? So the method of determining the list of schools is bottom 5% of elementary and secondary schools ranked separately based on combined math and reading scores for the most recent PSSA That's
Yeah,
how
that's a
they were
PSSA.
determined. Okay.
Well, right now
And
they
I-
have-
I
they have-
highly encourage you to take this packet that Commonwealth Foundation put together for this fight, the policy brief. It has the 15 school choice myths. Everybody should take this home because,
Right.
like you said, there's a lot of misinformation about SB1 out there.
Right.
Everybody should read this. If you don't read the bill, read this.
But what people don't understand as well is, I mean, to all of you that are here, they have PSSA classes to teach the kids how to take these tests. They aren't learning the correct information. It's just a PSSA test. So the only, way that we know of to change all this is to get the parents and the community involved because, they don't know what's happening in the school district. So I'm not really sure that this is the answer because I don't know if it does create more taxes. We're helping Philadelphia out, but we're not going to be helped out in the meantime. So that's my only question.
I want to read something. One of the confusions before was that, and Amanda brought it to our attention, and I knew this was a little bit of a confusion. Before they said it was going to in the next year it was going to extend to all, it was going to extend another year, and it was just going to extend the EITC credit. That's actually incorrect. It's actually going to extend the voucher program, and I'll read it out loud. Middle Income Scholarship Program would apply to students with a household income not exceeding 3 times the federal poverty line, $66,150 for a family of 4. Sir, you now qualify for that. You would get the voucher. That's the middle class, and that was what Brendan was saying before. Sorry, this thing's cutting out. Before, when he was saying how it extended in the next year after that. So through committee and through people showing up, it has now gotten to the middle class. So now you can get it.
Right, and the other thing.
How does that work? If you were anybody in a middle class person making
That's
less
year
than 60,
4 of the bill.
Yeah,
That's
year
that
4.
has been added, and this is where you are so important. That has been added because people have been voicing concern over SB1. We all agree it's not a silver bullet. It definitely is not, and it needs to be improved, and it's going to continue to get improved. But in order to do so, we need to get it out of the Senate and into the House so that they can start having hearings on the bill and make amendments to the bill, and then you can have an input. You can call your state senator, your state rep, when it goes to the House and say, this is what I would like to see. Why don't you introduce this amendment to the bill? But it needs to be done fast. We can't wait forever because while we're waiting, the PSCA is really hitting our reps and our senators really, really hard. And they have a lot of money. You know that.
I think it's important to remember the enduring principle that a rising tide lifts all boats. If we can get a crack in the system, whether it's in Philadelphia or it's Harrisburg or anywhere else, and that gets exposed, that will affect the rest of the state. And that principle is never, that it always holds true.
And one more, just one more thing is, did you know that the PSCA has raised its dues by 11% since SB1 was introduced on the floor of the Senate? 11%. They're running scared. So.